How Mark Carroll built an 8-figure online coaching business in a few short years. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what we did from his very first guidebook sale to where he is now. Everyone wants an 8-figure business, but nobody actually talks about what it takes to get there. Mark didn't start with money. He had no investors. He had no online business. In fact, when I first started working with him, he was an in-person personal trainer and he was building his social media following without having ever sold a digital product. Now, it's important to note that Mark is an introvert by nature. So leading a team, creating content, managing projects, all of these were actually big weaknesses of Mark's, and they might be of yours too. So stick around because I'm going to share exactly what the team focused on and what his strategies and tactics were. In 2018, Mark was in demand. He was working at Clean Health Fitness Institute. He was the global head of education, creating content for courses and creating experiences for in-person seminars. His account was growing, but he never actually sold a digital product. Just because of his growth, he waited until the right time when he knew that he had demand and product market fit to put something out there. Now, in his professional experience working at UP and working at Clean Health, it was undeniable that Mark was the go-to for getting Gen Pop transformations. He'd created systems in both of those businesses that also allowed those businesses to scale because those systems were used by other coaches. So coaches were using his methods and were coming to him as a mentor to build their success and to build their client base and obviously to generate amazing results as well. So Mark had built a reputation for being the best at what he did. And the first product that he launched in 2018 was the Art of Gen Pop Transformations. This was a guidebook. And that guidebook in the first weekend, I think did about $180,000 US. And that guidebook was direct to consumer. It was for people who wanted to lose weight and get in shape. It was kind of like the beginner's Bible. It was a simple PDF with clickable spreadsheets included. I don't even think we did videos for the first one. It was just a 12-week program with clear instructions and a clear formula on how to get results. Back then it was get a fast start. That was a phrase that Mark had coined that helped him build his brand and stand out in the market. And he was able to get a fast start on fat loss because of his coaching methods, right? Put people in a calorie deficit, get them moving, talk about sleep, talk about nutrition. That's what everybody does. But he coined that term, get a fast start, and he was known for it. Then what he did was he built a community around the Gen Pop transformations because he created a space where they could all share their journey, share their transformation, share their progress, their wins and challenges. Now that product was an absolute home run. It was the right time, at the right place, but most importantly, it was not a confused offer. It spoke exactly to who it was that he was helping, and it delivered. The products that he was selling actually got epic results. We started receiving emails weekly with thousands of people's transformations that provided proof that the Art of Gen Pop transformations as a product actually worked. So naturally, we reskinned the website straight away and we leveraged all of the proof of concept that was coming through to create more of a community-led product, right? The success of this product led to so much demand that we turned it into a course for personal trainers. It was an in-person seminar and it was sold out around the world. Mark was flying to Kuwait, he was flying around the country. And this was actually really hard for Mark because anybody who knows Mark or follows Mark will know that he struggles deeply with his mental health, and sticking him in a room full of people that he doesn't know, taking him away from his cats and his animals, made him feel really anxious and stressed. But the demand was there. So the logical next step was, how can we provide a product and fulfill this demand and take Mark out of the equation? At the time, I was the marketing manager at Clean Health and working on Mark's business, and we turned the Art of Gen Pop transformations into an online course and we sold thousands. Now we had other coaches building Mark's brand and positioning him as the coach of coaches because they were using his methods in their coaching experience as well. We rode this wave for a while before we introduced any new products, and I think this is a big lesson for personal trainers. Just because you've had one win doesn't mean you need to do more, better, new. You should focus on market penetration and stick to that thing that you deliver really well and double down on increasing your customer base. There's 7 billion people in the world, right? So even if you've sold 100 or 1,000 units, you could sell 10,000 units, and that is what you should focus on. So at the time, we set up a sales page and we had all of the digital pathways optimized, things like exit intent pop-ups. I think at the time that increased sales by like 400% just by having exit intent pop-up when somebody would go to exit the page. We had an offer there that said, but wait, you haven't checked out yet. Obviously also abandoned cart emails. We did run ads at the time. When we first launched ads for Mark, it was about an 8-to-1 ROAS, but I think that actually came later when we introduced the challenge. So let's get to that. The second product in Mark's suite of offers was building the bikini body. So we leveraged the success of the Art of Gem Pop transformations. We had thousands of before and afters, and he was now actually going back to double down on what works, which was one-on-one coaching. So I think some people try and grow too fast and get away from the things they don't like doing. And Mark actually got really good at being uncomfortable, right? He got good at doing the work that he didn't want to do because he was so clear on the goal. And the success of Gem Pop transformations gave him the confidence that he needed and the motivation to then come back to face-to-face and online. So now, leveraging the success, the undeniable burden of proof of Gem Pop transformations, he changed his target audience and doubled down on elite athletes, people who already considered themselves as athletes and bikini competitors. And this is where his brand really started to take off. He collaborated with creators and YouTubers like Madeline Georgetta, Fit Girl Mel, who at the time was coaching the Kardashians, and then of course, Lauren Simpson, who he coached 8 weeks after her powerlifting meet, where she squatted 155 kilos. She won the world champion titles of WBFF. So she became a world champion. And now Mark had new eyes on brand. He was attracting women from all over the world, thanks to Fit Girl Mel, who had a large US base, and so did Madeline Georgetta. Then of course he had Lauren's success. He was also in-person coaching bodybuilders. So he had about 10 bodybuilding clients from around Australia. Then he leveraged his in-person sessions, and his content strategy was all around getting your clients in your content by using them to film like exercise breakdowns and things like that, which were performing really well back then. This allowed him to then start online coaching bodybuilders, and his price point went up. So instead of charging for 12 weeks, he had a minimum commitment of 24 weeks. And I think this bumped up his comp prep price to about 8 to 12K even in the end. So now he was getting incredible results with a whole new market segment, whilst the Art of Gem Pop transformations was basically selling itself because of all of the evidence of the success that it had. Through coaching athletes, we launched Building the Bikini Body. And the first one had all of the girls' pro shots or stage photos on the front cover. This allowed him to speak clearly to a new market segment, and he had proof that it was working from his one-on-one work in this space. Building the Bikini Body was a home run. This was also a 7-figure launch. And from there, we went on to create Building the Bikini Body 2, 3, and 4, and then Your Glute Coach, which was more glute focused. Now, what this teaches us and what you can take home from this is the importance of having a customer journey. So too often people create scattered products. Mark increased his lifetime value and average order value by creating bundles. So for example, once Bikini Body 2.0 came out, we were able to increase the average order value by selling them together as a bundle. We did that again with Bikini Body 2, 3, and 4. Also, Gem Pop transformations. After Gem Pop, we created the art of reverse dieting. So we were then creating that next step. What happens when people finish? That then became a bundle deal. And then you could essentially go from the art of Gem Pop transformations to the art of reverse dieting to building the bikini body. And now we were creating 12 months worth of programs so that people never had to leave. They could always achieve the result that we were selling and then paint a picture in their head of what's possible if you keep going. Then we offered them the pathway to keep going. Why would you stop? Plus, with a product like the art of reverse dieting, we educated the customer. And this allowed us to create need and to create demand because people didn't know what reverse dieting was. It was very new back then. People didn't realize that if you lost all this weight, you will put it right back on if you don't have the plan. So the educational content that went into the customer experience, into these guidebooks and into his content strategy was actually to create problem awareness and to create demand for his product offering. Building the Bikini Body did the same thing. We created content that satiated the minds of the client because they were training enthusiasts. They actually wanted to learn and understand why they were doing what they were doing in their plan. Now, this educational content was short, sharp, and easy to digest, and it explained what your focus is, how to follow your plan this phase, what exactly you're going to be doing in the gym, and how to get confident with this program before you even open the workout. So what this did was it created confidence and overcame gym anxiety in our customers, which was a huge pain point for girls that were going to lift heavy. How do you ask for a spot if you don't feel confident in doing so? So by giving them an understanding of what they were doing and explaining the importance of adding weight to the bar or tapering it off, at the time he was explaining the different methodologies behind the programs, girls felt more confident to go and communicate what their goals were or to ask people to support them in the gym. But also they had more buy-in because they felt like if they followed the plan, it would work for them because there was so much evidence of it, and we were able to crush their limiting beliefs, like adding weight to the bar was going to make them bulky. And of course, this kind of supporting content also did make for better athletes. Now, obviously, when you take yourself out of your service experience as a one-on-one coach, the biggest problem is results can slip. So how did we combat that? We had to make sure people could get epic results without Mark being there. So it meant that we had to teach how to load the bar, loading schemes, how to squat properly, how to improve your technique. And this meant that we had girls that were achieving epic transformations because we were actually improving their lifting performance and their training intensity as well. Then came the challenge. The challenge was a whole different beast. We launched the first challenge, and Mark and I had some words about this because I was like, sell the result. But it was confusing to do that because we had Gem Pop transformations and we had Bikini Body, which was so successful. And that was two totally different market segments. So how could we bring them together in one new product that would be an absolute home run? And it was actually Mark's idea to call it the challenge. It was so simple. I begged him not to do it, but it worked. He just wanted to go to market with something that clearly communicated what it was. That was something that Mark became incredibly good at as he built his business, was the ability to communicate. So we launched the challenge. The first challenge was an 8-week challenge. At this stage, we'd built a web-based app. So we were delivering this through a web-based app, no training apps, and spreadsheets. And the challenge included a whole video library that we knew people wanted to see because we were looking at the feedback from Bikini Body and Gem Pop transformations. And we actually saw that the biggest problem that people had was adherence and mindset and following the plan. So with the challenge, the goal was completion. Make it short, make it easy enough to finish, but hard enough that people still get results. So we went in with cardio protocols, different fat loss or stages of a deficit, being like rapid fat loss or moderate, explaining which one to choose. We empowered people to calculate their own calories and macros, which alleviated the time pressure of Mark having to do this for them. Then they could check their calories and macros in the community group if they wanted to. At the time, we had a coach checking the numbers for the customers that were inquiring about them as well. So that meant that we could completely take Mark out of the nutrition element of the coaching, but still deliver really epic results. Now, the content that we provided was, again, about helping them follow the plan, helping them get prepared for the week, helping them organize their meals, helping them stay on track, what to do if you fall off the wagon over the weekend. And we only gave them a 4-week plan, which is a right amount of time, or the right amount of time that we found before people would get bored. Then we would introduce phase 2 the week before phase 2 was about to start. This would drive momentum. Sometimes, especially if it is a coachless program, so to speak, people have a slow start or could have a false start, right? So the amount of contact that they were getting by dropping phase 2 just before phase 2 was ready to go, people could consume the content, get prepared, look ahead to see what they need to do in the gym, walk around the gym before they even go in for their session and notice the new equipment they might be using in their program. The content in phase 2 was all about how to keep momentum going. As a fitness coach, a very real problem to address is that the rate of fat loss stalls. So does engagement, so does motivation. So what we needed to do was spike that back up so that people could continue getting epic results, aka adjust their calories, re-engage them and re-motivate them by showing them what happens if you keep pushing all the way. It's only 8 weeks you can lock in. As the challenges were approaching the end of their journey, the content was all about reverse dieting, maintenance calories, how to keep your results, and what to do next. This then created a conversion pathway for the art of reverse dieting or building the bikini body. So you can see how he started to build a product ecosystem and a customer journey, which meant that people never had to leave. Now, this is hugely important as a coach or creator. You will spend so much time and money on trying to get customers, and once you've got them, if you deliver epic results, they trust you. You should be focused on making them spend money again. Give them a reason to buy again. What goal can you take them to from here? How clearly can you communicate that, and how easy is it for them to achieve that and buy from you again? This increases your lifetime value, and it is an underrated hack for building a profitable and scalable business is acquire 10 people and make them purchase 4 times instead of only once. Now, let's talk about the team and the structure. Mark never really liked managing a team. Originally, I was his general manager. Prior to that, he was in works with Clean Health. We moved away from Clean Health. I was managing the team with him and working very closely with him. I knew the vision and I knew his mission, and it was my job to find people to bring that to life. So from there, I was able to recruit the right developers, the right designers, customer support people, social media schedulers. And Mark's focus really went into becoming the best businessman that he could. In the early phases of Mark's career, he reinvested everything in mentorship. I think he reported spending like $250,000 on going to work with different coaches to become the best coach that he could possibly be. And that was of his own money before he even launched digital products. That's quite profound. Consider if you've invested in mentors, and consider how good you actually are at getting results before you actually go and launch these products. You want to make sure they actually work. So that was step 1 in terms of Mark's investment strategy of his time and resources. Step 2, as a business owner, once he started making money, he did not spend it. Although he started with flashy cars, by the time you saw that, he'd already built a 7-figure business. He did not just outsource the growth of his business to somebody else. And I think that people who sell that sell you the dream. You have to lead from the front. You have to lead with your vision. You have to be able to communicate in your tone, in market-centric language, in a way that shows your personality and builds trust. And when you are really good at what you do, only you can really do this. So he doubled down on building skills around copywriting, sales funnels, ads, and investing. That allowed him to run lean and reinvest most of his profits into his own property portfolio. And we know that today Mark is worth about $50 million. So he definitely knows what he's doing on the investment front. When it comes to building a team though, he really wanted to have few meetings and spend more time reading. And I think he was reading like a book a week. He was doing different courses every other week, and he really attacked learning and growing and outsourced and delegated all of the things that would just consume time that somebody else could do, because his time was so valuable. If he wrote a series of emails or created a series of content, we would make money. There was no point in him sitting around looking on, at the time we were using Drip or ClickUp and doing project management or any of that. So he invested in his team, he invested in his education as a founder, and he invested in his ability to work at speed. He got faster at everything that he was doing. We then started releasing 5 challenges a year. We had 4 of the Bikini Body guidebooks come out, the male method, 1 and 2. We did home training, reverse dieting, and now the bikini subscription. And what we did from a tech point of view was first, sales page. Then automations for upsell, cross-sell, downsell journeys. We created bundle deals to increase the lifetime value of the client and to create that customer journey that kept people coming back for more. We then turned his website into an e-commerce focused website where you could click and buy multiple products at once and you could find the product that you were looking for in seconds. When we launched the first challenge, we built a web-based app. So this is a very effective and efficient way to deliver a unique experience without investing in building your own app, because you could do it in a web-based platform. All you have to do is teach your users how to create that icon on their home screen with their own web-based app. That validated the investment for building the mobile app, and we are about to launch their new mobile app that he is working on with Lauren. Him and Lauren have partnered on their new venture, and they are building this app based off all of the data that they have learned and gained from servicing over 200,000 customers. When you have that kind of data, you set yourself up for success. Mark didn't chase virality or trends. He doubled down on the systems that worked. He doubled down on the results that he could deliver for the clients that he claimed to serve. And he then provided so much proof that people who didn't even know him could not doubt that he was the best at what he did. And if you want to see more evidence of frameworks and strategies that are working across some of our other clients, then follow me for more.